Some of the details that we have learned about what they put the alleged victim through are really quite shocking. For example, the two-finger examination. Is this a practice that is condoned by the authorities, the government?
Well, yes, it is a fairly widespread practice, and the courts have been, looking at evidence through this two-finger test, but we have asked for an immediate stop to this test and tried to point out that it's neither scientific nor relevant and only ends up in humiliating and insulting the woman. And there are several cases which show how this test has been misused to, blame the victim or complainant of rape.
And why is the test used in the first place, if you could explain?
It was used to say really that, a woman is used to sexual intercourse, as if that would in any event establish that she was not raped at this particular time. But mostly it was used to actually impeach the credibility of the main prosecutrix in the case.
This case of this unfortunate woman has done a lot of damage to India's image, its reputation overseas. Are you confident now that the Prime Minister, who presumably was taken by surprise by the huge reaction against him and against rape against women, has handled this issue correctly?
Well, I don't think they realize soon enough, how outraged their citizens were, and, how deep the anger was, and how deep the frustration was with the government and its functioning, with the police and its functioning. And I hope that they do realize that they cannot, sort of wish away such protests, and they cannot ignore questions of women's rights and questions of her equality. And that is why I hope they will seriously start looking at the education for a girl child. They will seriously start looking at questions of nutrition and medical help for girls. They will seriously bring in legislation which will try to end all the various forms of discrimination and violence against the girl child.
Okay.
Apart from that, they have to put in place procedures.
In terms of the men who were charged today, their lawyers, many lawyers in the district don't want to represent them, but they will be appointed lawyers. Now, how do you feel about whether or not they'll get a fair trial? Should they get a fair trial, in many people's opinion, in India? And what are your thoughts about the death penalty?
Well, I think they should get a fair trial. Everybody is, has a right to a fair trial in the country. The Constitution guarantees it. And so I hope they will get a fair trial. I hope there will be lawyers who will represent them to the best of their ability. As far as the death penalty is concerned, I feel that it is not necessary in these cases. I feel that the certainty of punishment is far more important. What has been happening in our country is that there's a very low rate of conviction, and that's why people feel that rapists get away with impunity. But however, if there were more convictions, if the convictions were certainly resulted in sufficient terms of imprisonment for the rapist, I think death penalty should not be a demand. It certainly isn't of the women's organizations and groups that I work with.
Kirti Singh, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And at amanpour.com, we have an opinion piece from the head of Amnesty International in